Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the PRSA Midwest District webinar on TikTok. My name is Eva Kaiser, and I'm the chair of the Midwest District. And I've brought together a panel of folks who understand TikTok way more than I do. But our moderator is going to be Greg Swan. And I've known Greg for a long time, and he's always been my go-to when I want to learn about new technology, especially social media and digital. He's spoken at my class at the University of Minnesota several times, and so I appreciate his insight. Right now, Greg is the Chief Creative and Social Strategy Officer at the Social Lights. He just got back from South by Southwest, and he'll share some insights there as well. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Greg to lead this discussion. So welcome.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Across the Midwest, I know that we have storms and sun, and then I see in the chat that someone is in Florida right now, and that is not fair. So please refrain from talking about gorgeous weather today. Thank you very much. Like Eva said, my name is Greg Swan. I am the Chief Creative and Strategy Officer here at the Social Lights. We're a social first agency based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we make a lot of TikToks for big brands. And I'm very excited today to talk about my favorite social network, the most important social media network of 2022, which is TikTok. So I'm going to give just a quick overview, some kind of quick stats to set the groundwork of where TikTok is at today. And then I'm going to introduce our panelists. They're going to talk about who they are, what they do, and what their company is doing. We're going to answer the question, what's your TikTok strategy? So first, to start, did you know that TikTok is going to turn 4 years old today, this year? This is not a new and emerging platform. And for those of you who are Musical.ly fans, we've seen the platform change a lot in the last 4 years. And we've also seen it elevated into culture. Last year in 2021, TikTok had more traffic than Google. It was the #1 app downloaded in the App Store. And we're seeing it impact entertainment and culture at a pace and velocity and a consistency that we've never seen before. We're talking about Old Town Road starting as a short clip on TikTok and becoming one of the shortest ever Billboard #1 hits. TikTok's seen about 78 million users in the United States. And you might say, oh, that's just Gen Z, that's just the kids. Well, based on new research that came out breaking out the age demographics, yes, that 10 to 19 age range is about 25%. But did you know that 20 to 29 is 22%, 30 to 39, 21%, 40 to 49, sorry, that's me, 20%. We're looking at like, and 50 plus is 11%. We're looking at a pretty great age distribution, actually. This is not an app for kids to film dancing videos, okay? So when we're thinking about like, where is that at today? Where is that moving in the future? We're seeing TikTok adoption from celebrities and musicians and academics and beekeepers. We're seeing this magical algorithm changing consumption habits when you think of social, not as a place to necessarily go follow your friends, but to view it like TV. Like you're gonna tune in and see not necessarily people you know, but people that you might care about. And we're also seeing companies across the whole spectrum, from consumer to B2B, finance to healthcare, embrace this app, which is truly the center of culture today. So there's one more note here, which is like, if you got really smart back in the day on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's another thing. There's another thing. There's always another thing. That's what being a modern marketer is all about, which is why I'm so glad to be joined with these really smart panelists here today. So let's start with August. And could you please introduce yourself and give us a little background of what you're doing on TikTok?
Yes, thank you, Greg. I'm August Schiess. I am the Director of Social Media for the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. So based in Central Illinois, and our role at a campus level social media team is to create all of the content for all of our channels. And as Greg said, we have a lot of channels and new channels keep coming. So we started on TikTok back in 2019, and we thought about it for a bit. We obviously saw that it was growing. It definitely was very popular amongst an audience that we really care about, which is prospective students. But we also knew with any new platform, especially TikTok, it requires a ton of work. It requires resources. It requires brand new content that you aren't posting on other platforms necessarily. And it requires a tone that's a lot different than other social media channels too. So we thought about it for a bit, but then after working with our admissions team, we decided to start it together, working with them, which is excellent because that means we have now up to 5 interns helping us create content every day, every week. And that helps us sustain a channel that does require some more effort. So our handle is U of Illinois. It's growing, and it's now, even though we've had some of our channels for longer, for example, Snapchat, we're still growing faster and more prevalently among the audience we want to on TikTok. So I'm excited to talk about TikTok today, and it's a good platform for us.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Paige Ford, could you go next for us?
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Paige Ford. I am the social media specialist at KwikTrip, and that is KwikTrip with a K, if some of you guys might know the one with the Q. We're a Midwest convenience store based out of Wisconsin. So a lot of our content on TikTok, well, we started in 2020, so kind of right before COVID hit is when we decided to hop on TikTok, because we saw, also I saw a KwikTrip in the chat. Thank you very much for that. So we started in early 2020 when we just kind of saw that this was a platform that was not slowing down, and we always try to be kind of ahead of that curve before the majority of people get to a platform. So we decided to just bite the bullet and go on it, figure out what it's all about. A lot of our initial activities on the platform were just taking in trends, kind of getting to know the platform from a user's perspective, because I was not on TikTok at the time, but I knew that we kind of had to get on there. We were lucky enough to kind of use our established brand voice that was already used on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So kind of that relatable Midwest humor, all things KwikTrip, any kind of relatable gas station situations. And our initial strategy, we actually kind of took our top performing memes, and this is actually brought to us by the socialites, so thank you, this idea to kind of take our well-performing memes and kind of translate those into video form, taking our top performing tweets and kind of seeing how those do on the platform. So a lot of it to start was a lot of original content and then some of those trending sounds, but they did, perform pretty well because we are trying to target that younger audience on our other platforms too. So we just kind of took that and ran with it, try to be funny on the platform, relate to the audience, make sure that people, feel like we're a brand with a personality. And it's kind of, been learning from there and just kind of figuring out what's been working for us. A lot of behind the scenes content, things like that has been doing well too. So it's a little bit about us, and our handle is at KwikTrip with a K.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks so much, Paige. Ryan Pena, can you clue us into what's going on in your world?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks so much for being here with all of us. I am a national marketing manager, which just to clarify, it's a newer role for me. I took it last year. I had previously been doing social media marketing for about 12 years in various organizations. And most recently, about 4 years ago, I started at Be The Match, which is where I'm at today. And if you're not aware, Be The Match is a nonprofit based here in Minneapolis, but for over 30 years, we're also known as the National Bone Marrow Registry. So we have millions of people on the registry, and our goal in marketing is to get more people like us on this call to ensure that we're on the registry, that we've signed up. We've done our part to potentially help patients in need. So that's the TikTok tie really started like August in 2019 for us. We know that we need to reach younger people as much as possible, 18 plus. And so TikTok was definitely an area of interest for us in addition to our core channels. And and I'm sure we're going to talk about this, but we didn't want to just go all in because it's another platform and we didn't know, it was a couple of years, 2-3 years at the time that it had been around. So we did see that people that were joining the registry were creating TikToks, and that was our initial, like, okay, they're there, so we should at least be there. And we were there in terms of commenting, thanking them for joining, supporting our patients or our donor stories that were being shared out there from themselves. And And so that's where it started. And then we were scrappy. So I was like you, Greg, you know, team 40 plus. I was out there doing TikToks and dancing away and hurting myself and making a fool of myself, but also finding our niche on TikTok. And that eventually got to a better state. A year later, we actually hired a college grad to take over and own our TikTok and develop our TikTok strategy, got us verified, got us over 10,000 followers, and we're still growing. And a lot of registrations are now coming from that too. So it's really exciting to see it evolve. Our strategy is centered, as you can imagine, around user-generated content because of the stories that are out there. But the other thing that I mentioned in the beginning is I'm in a new role. So I technically do not oversee the TikTok strategy anymore, the social strategy anymore at Be The Match. That is taken over by another team, and they're doing amazing there. So check us out at Be The Match. It's really easy to remember. And again, looking forward to this conversation. Thanks, Greg.
Awesome. Wow. You guys did such a good job explaining who you are and what your organization is doing with TikTok. So thank you so much. I have prepared a number of questions, but also for the 108 people who are at this event, I'm sure you guys are going to have questions too. So as we are discussing, like, feel free to drop those into the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on it, and we will go from there. So first, I want to talk about the audience, because I really wanted to set this up from the beginning, saying, like, this is not just for kids. This is not just for Gen Z. However, 2/3 of teenagers are on TikTok, which is why I think a lot of times we think about Gen Z and kind of their impact, because this is the channel to reach them, right? So I'd love to hear from each of you briefly, like, how are TikTok audiences different than other social media platforms for you, and how you approach that? August, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I sure can. So we have very distinct audiences for our platform. Obviously, everyone that cares about all of our channels likes the University of Illinois in some way. But for Facebook and for LinkedIn, we're talking to alumni quite a bit. We're talking to parents, young alumni, older alumni, fans of the university in terms of our athletics. So we kind of have those distinct audiences there. So when we moved to TikTok, we're like, okay, we need to find a space that we consistently can talk to prospective students. So that's what we focused on. And that means the content that we create is trying to talk to them. And that can mean a couple different things on TikTok because of the way the algorithm works and the For You page works. So sometimes if people are interested in us and follow us, we want to give them the tools to become a student. So things like how to apply to the University of Illinois, the best residence halls to live in, things that really speak to them if they have a vested interest in us. There could be some content that just makes sense for current students because they know the campus and they like it here. But because the algorithm is such on TikTok that it can be any person or any student that may be interested, we definitely have to take some of our lingo and our jargon back to make it so that it's accessible to anyone who if it's a trending video or video that people just like, and they're like, oh, that's from the University of Illinois, where is that? I might be interested. So we definitely have to think, of course, our prospective and current student audience, but also just becoming a little less niche or specific.
Ryan, how about you guys when you think about Be The Match and how your audiences are different on social than they might be on other social media platforms?
Yeah, I think as you mentioned in the beginning of this, people are there, right? So people are on TikTok, they're also on these other platforms. A lot of them are. And so, I think it's reaching our audience in multiple ways with this new platform, not new, but, newish platform. And so that's the way we look at it. We also know that we look at it and focus on it more from, what's the experience difference that we're seeing from TikTok versus other channels and the way people use it. It's kind of like that Vine 2.0 where it's got, longer looping videos and that kind of quick hitting and entertainment value of it, the attention span, right? People are staying on that app for quite a bit. And so all of those factors really empower us to say, okay, we know we're going to get user-generated content, which is a constant and a consistent between all of our channels. People are always sharing their they're joining the registry, that they donate it, all of that amazing braggable moments. And so we just have to make sure that we leverage the platform and the functionality of that platform in a way that embraces that. So of course, resharing, we do that still, but we can do duets, right? And we can show our support in different unique ways. Green screen stuff, like there's so many ways that we can show our support there. And I think like that is really, we don't view it as a different audience for us. We view it as our audience. And we, they're there, they're in the other platforms. We have a lot of members that have joined for years and years and years on the registry. And a lot of them are on Facebook, but they're still interested in what's going on in terms of donor and patient stories. And the same thing happens on TikTok. But I think the biggest aha moment for us with the strategy has been really around the importance of education and how people actually look for that on TikTok, and that's acceptable on TikTok when it's done in a TikTok-ish way. Did I just make up a word? I don't know, but I'm going to stop there because I'm getting pretty excited about this stuff.
I love that. It's not a different audience, it's our audience. That's so good. Okay, Paige, how does KwikTrip approach audience strategy differently than other platforms, and how does kind of the For You page and that approach to the platform change your strategy?
Yeah, definitely. So Ryan, I like what you say about your audience is your audience. And attention span is very important to note on TikTok, is that someone, can scroll past your content in 1 second if it's not entertaining right off the bat. So one thing that we've noticed is a lot of our followers from other platforms have begun to come on TikTok, and they'll find us there too. A lot of our content on TikTok is a little bit different than Facebook because video performance on Facebook hasn't been that great lately for us. But what we found is that a lot of businesses, they'll want to find definitely their niche. So with the FYP, you're going to get a lot of content fed to you that all kind of speaks to you in some sort of way. But our strategy is just trying to be holistically relatable to anyone in the Midwest. So once we kind of key that down, and if they know of our brand, then we kind of take it from there. And I think a lot of it is just understanding our audience and what they like, what they dislike, what they're saying in the comment section, maybe even slang that they're using in the comment section, answering questions that they might ask in the comment section, and just kind of, collaborating with them a lot to understand what they want to see. So we're putting out the right amount of content and what they like. But yeah, I feel like a lot of it comes from our audience and making sure that's relatable and pretty funny, or at least we try to be, or entertaining in some kind of way.
Cool. So let's actually draft off that. So if it's all about the audience and it's a different type of content, how should the folks tuning in today, like how should they think about community management differently? How should they think about social listening and kind of both proactive and reactive engagement differently? Ryan, do you want to start?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? And I think the first, hopeful comfort that comes to the audience that's listening is that, you also have to understand that it's not a one size fits all, right? So, for example, I'll use Be the Match. So, when there's some instances, like let's just take someone joining the registry. It's very much more of a lighthearted, just kind of a braggable moment, right? Which is what social media is about. And so those types of conversations can be a lot more loose, and can be more conversational, which is what we're always striving to do. And this is, again, something that we've pushed over the years, even on our more traditional channels, where when we respond to people that are asking questions and are excited about our mission, we try to humanize that as much as possible. So that carries through into TikTok. We want to make sure that they're knowing and feeling like they're hearing from a person, and we sign our names, we do little things like that. But then when it gets to the challenges, when it gets to more of a serious conversation, but then when we're talking about a patient story who's in desperate need of a match, there's always going to be potentially trolls, right, that come into a thread, and we just, unless it's inappropriate, we don't do anything with those. Otherwise, we'll flag them. But there's usually people asking questions about joining and this potential donation procedure that you may go through at a certain point. So we do want to make sure that there's a balance of, we can't be too TikTok-ish. I keep using that word because we have to be we have to also make sure people understand that when we're answering questions, it's there's a certain thing that we can and can't say based on healthcare potential procedures and things like that. So we have to be mindful, and that's why I say it's based off of your organization. And I look at KwikTrip, for example. There's probably a lot more flex right there to be a little bit more playful, but we also have to think about the brand. And I just want to emphasize that to kick this part of the conversation off, that it's still not a one size fits all. Even though you think of TikTok, you think fun, sure, that's at the core, but education is also part of it as well. And people are looking for that real talk when it's the right stage for it.
That's good. Okay, so speaking of education, August, how do you think of community management through the higher ed lens?
I was gonna step in because it truly one size fits all in terms of how you engage. Isn't, I think that, like, obviously people appreciate when you comment on TikTok that you're funny, that you're lighthearted, that you can take a joke, whatever. Those are universally like well-loved things. But it's not always like how far you go into that depends to me on the industry. So like as a university higher education institution, we do have like a persona they can't be like funny and silly all the time. And we also want to be helpful to students and provide value. And our general comment strategy across all platforms is to like reply when we can offer value or help in some way. So that's what we think about when we comment, other than just like we're excited for you or we're happy or we're joking or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've worked with some brands who, they're not actively posting content, but they are using TikTok as a place for social listening. And we all know that the social listening tools from 5 to 10 years ago are increasingly not as good, because a lot of that conversation has moved to dark social. It's moved to text messages and DMs, and it's not live on blogs and Twitter, which are kind of the primary drivers of social listening tools. But TikTok is an amazing place to listen and kind of know what your audience is thinking, where are they going. And then even if your brand isn't posting content, you can engage with that content back. And I know KwikTrip has a really great engagement strategy. Paige, can you talk a little bit about kind of your approach for community management and how you engage with super fans of the brand?
Yeah, so we definitely, always have our eyes on that. That's actually the first thing that I do when I log on to work is look through Sprout Social, which is what we use for all of our platforms. Hopefully TikTok will be on there at some point, but otherwise I'll just scroll through TikTok just to make sure that we know what people are saying about our brand. We don't use any specific social listening tools just because it is kind of difficult, but we do see a lot of those mentions, and that's honestly where a lot of our content ideas come from. If someone just, says that they cry in a KwikTrip parking lot a lot, apparently that's a thing, and we've seen it been tweeted several times, so we're going to tweet about it. Just kind of figuring out what your audience is saying, and although it might not be relatable to you, it probably is to them, which is equally as important on TikTok. So a lot of the comments on TikTok, like, let's see something, I want to see the KwikTrip headquarters inside the KwikTrip. We'll make a TikTok about it, and just anything that they really ask for. And another thing that I've seen universally a lot of other brands do is go on other brands' TikToks or just those viral, well-performing TikToks and comment on those. And especially if you have the verification badge and if you comment on it, you're likely to get kind of to the top of that. And I think that kind of adds another layer of personality to the brand. I mean, if you're willing to be fun, or if you can be fun as a brand, like we try to be, we've seen that provide, a great amount of followers and just engagement just from there, because people think it's funny when a brand is commenting on a viral TikTok that has absolutely nothing to do with the convenience store or anything of the sort. So that's just kind of something that we've done to kind of further that engagement outside of just our fan base. So.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Paige bringing that up, TikTok, in terms of resources, TikTok requires you to spend a lot more time to be like relevant and engaged there. Like just to understand like the next video you're going to do based on the trending sound requires you personally to spend time there to understand what the trending sound is or what the like atmosphere is. So I always think about too, if people are considering getting TikTok, I'm like, are you willing to spend time for yourself there to understand it and post good content?
Well, that's perfect. So my next question was, why, like, when should your brand join TikTok and when should they not? So August, do you have a coda to what you just said?
Yeah.
around that?
I am usually like, let's not bite off more platforms than we can choose. And it's always, to me, quality over quantity, especially when you like thinking about the university like atmosphere. A lot of our units and departments don't have the staff to like, spread themselves thin on all the platforms, plus all the communication things they have to do otherwise. So for us, to me, it seems like, the university level makes sense. We have an athletics TikTok, but then past that, it's thinking, can you collaborate with kind of like the rung up? Can our departments and colleges, and we encourage them to collaborate with us to create content for our channel versus trying to create your own new one. So it's kind of like if you have a big gap in your audience that you feel like TikTok is going to fulfill, and can you create a content strategy from the output, and can you sustain it over a month, a year and beyond?
Paige or Ryan, do you guys have anything to add to that? When should your brand join TikTok? When should they not?
Yeah, I think the other piece to this too is also asking another layer in the question, right? Like how deep are you wanting to go, or how deep can you go, right? Because when we started in 2019, for example, we didn't go deep because we knew we just didn't have the bandwidth, we didn't have the focus, and I see Chris's question, we didn't have any kind of ROI understanding of what this could look like. And so we started by what we were just talking about a little bit ago, seeing that people were talking about us on the platform, and we weren't there. We didn't have a channel. So we knew that it would be a light lift for us as a team to create an account, add a bio, add a link with its own, track KPI, so we could just in case, and then we just started to respond to people. It was kind of like just community management. We were just responding to people that were talking on their channels about Be the Match. And so that's one thing to think about too, is you don't have to go all in, when people say, should you go on this or not? So that's one thing. And that also helped us and validated that we should be potentially looking at other layers of this and maybe creating content, what that would look like, et cetera. So that's one thing to think about. The other piece is, in terms of eliminate that, my advice would be don't go into an account unless there's some type of strategy. And if it is just to go in there to be able to comment because people are talking, or if you are seeing your competitors on there and they're doing something that is meaningful and you feel like you're missing the party, think about it. But you don't want to have an account there that's just an account and it's dead, because that's going to look bad on your brand and all of that. So either go in and like August said, you have to make those commitments, but it's at what level of a commitment are you willing to make? Can you make, based on probably most people on this call? We likely have a scrappy team, and we have to make those realistic decisions.
It's good. So I see there's a handful of questions, and I love this, especially from a PRSA audience. Like we're getting to the heart of this, which is like, why, right? So I asked when, and you guys kind of hinted at why, but could you share for your audience, for your brands, what is the ROI? Why are you there? Where does this live in the purchase funnel? How are you thinking about how this fits against business objectives? And Paige, we'll start with you. And I think knowing that KwikTrip has both paid and organic efforts, I think that's maybe a good place to start.
Yeah, so with our paid strategy, we definitely link to our app a lot of the time. So that's kind of an easy ROI to kind of see what exactly is going on. But speaking from an organic side of things, which I think is sometimes a really big struggle for brands, is to show your value there. A big thing of it is just brand awareness. A lot of it, we'll see people mention our TikToks outside of the TikTok platform, which we kind of save if we see that in Sprout, to make sure that, we're showing our value there. But one thing that happened a few months ago, we actually had a TikTok go pretty viral. It had like 1.4 million views, which is pretty good for us and our audience for sure. It was of me just making a fresh blends. So it was actually, we had Charlie Barron's, he's been like an iconic Midwest comedian, and he's on our fresh blends machine now. So it was just kind of me making that special drink with a trending sound in the background of they're not going to know, or how are they going to know? And that actually did really well. And the day it posted and a couple days following, we actually saw a 5% increase in Fresh Blend's overall sales, and a really high increase on that particular drink flavor. So that was just kind of the one big moment for us where we saw a huge return on it, and we could really say, like, this is because we posted that TikTok. We had nothing else pushing towards Fresh Blends at that time. So it was just kind of really cool to see that. So just looking for unique ways to do that. And as we evolve on TikTok, we're going to keep looking for ways to include links, maybe, you know, get our merch on there more often and things like that. But you can definitely see that if you just try hard enough and look for it, you know, those key moments where you can say we did that. So
nice. August, from a higher ed perspective, you mentioned a little bit around recruiting. Is this 100% a channel for recruiting for University of Illinois?
I wouldn't say it's 100%, but it's a pretty large component of it, especially because we're working with admissions. But it's recruiting in the sense that brand awareness, important aspect, but also if we can provide a space for any student who currently goes here or is interested, for them to feel connected and welcome to the university, that's a big win for us. So, you know, our recent post welcoming students when they got their admissions, we had a ton of comments, some comments that they didn't get in, which is, you know, the sad part of TikTok and comment sections. But when they do get in and we can say, congratulations, we're so excited to have you, that like one-on-one connection with our students in this like social space and where they are, that feels really good. And that's why we're on channels a lot, is to connect with people in kind of a real way, in a way that makes sense for them. And I mean, we'll talk about this later, but another big component of our ROI on TikTok is our ad strategy. And we have seen really good results with our admissions related ads on TikTok, so much so that it's almost outperforming and in terms of just general clicks for you know, outperforming Facebook and Instagram. And we're spending a ton less money on TikTok to get some of the same results. So we find that the ad strategy is a really cool component of TikTok.
That's awesome. Ryan, from a Be the Match perspective, how does Be the Match, when you initially launched the channel to today, has there been an evolution of how you think of TikTok and your efforts there from an ROI perspective?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, you know, we always, all of us with our marketing hats, think about, you know, what kind of business results are we trying to drive, right? And in our case, it's interesting, unique, right? Because our business results are related to lives impacted, and that's a pretty serious thing. And so, you know, it comes down to science for us. Honestly, we need people 18 plus to join the registry. The younger you are, the more of a donation, typically by volume, you can donate. A donation similar to like donating plasma. And so we know that, and we know that, again, from a marketing perspective, we have to reach younger people. So that TikTok is you know, here to stay. We know that, and so that is, you know, one of the platforms that allows us to future-proof our social strategy. Instagram's another one, you know, and there's some nuances with some other channels too. So while we need to keep the lights on in some of these other core channels that, like I said earlier, you know, we have hundreds of thousands, millions of our members as a part of, and those are important because we want to make sure that when it comes time for them to potentially donate, that they're still connected to us and engaged. We have to reach new people. The more people we can reach, the more lives we can impact. So it is a serious part of our strategy, which is why in 2020 we actually hired a person that was dedicated to developing TikTok, to enhancing Instagram, and then also to digging in more on our YouTube. We see those as platforms where people that are younger are looking for information and understanding how they can do things that speak to their individuality out there. And that is also at the core of what Gen Z is all about too. So it is detrimental. We measure the success based on registrations. And we have seen in the 2 years that we've been kind of full bore going at this, we've seen a year-over-year increase in registrations, which is great. We're developing baselines right now. So that's also how we're measuring success, because we didn't have a baseline with TikTok before. And we're also starting to, like August and I think Paige, we're starting to dig into paid as well. And that's going to be another path for us that we're excited to tackle, because we need to reach more people. So
that's great. Yeah. And I see a lot of questions in the chat around paid. Like TikTok has a pretty great business section on their website where you can learn a ton. And it's very similar to the early days of Meta and Twitter, where there are big brands spending a lot of money, but there's also like brands that are doing test and learns and can, like you just heard here, like higher engagement or higher return on value, especially for a direct sale or a direct click in TikTok compared to others, if your audience is there, if your content and creative is there. And then also, like, we're going to have to dedicate time and talent. And so I see a number of questions here, and it's something we talked about as a panel of just kind of talking about how each of your organizations staffs TikTok, and also the difference of, I can community manage a Twitter or an Instagram community, and it's not my face. And all of you have experience with, it's actually your face. So can you please talk about what's your talent strategy? And then what's it like to have your SMMs actually be part of that public talent strategy? And what are those considerations? August, do you want to start on that one?
Yep. So for our management structure, we have myself and like the public affairs director of social media, and then we have our admissions person, the director of marketing and admissions. And then we have our interns, and our interns really are the driving force in working together to create content. And then we have one intern who manages our interns. So that helps just like for them to have their like weekly meeting to discuss the content they're going to post like this week, or what's trending or what looks good. Our intern reports back to us and says, this is what we're thinking. And then we ultimately approve every video that goes up. And also, there's some design iterations that might happen too. So that kind of gives us a structure. We do move really quickly because, as we know, you have to move quickly on TikTok to like be, relevant. So we do like go through this management and approval process within a day or a couple days. And we'll also like work with our intern just directly if we have ideas too. So it's somewhat, goes back and forth, but we do have some sort of structure to help our 5 interns kind of like all on the same page. And then as far as how often we post, we like aim for once a week, but it'd be great if we had 2 to 3 a week. We're working our way up to that. And then the second part of that question.
Talent. So the community,
yes.
Like they're actually on
yes.
camera.
So our interns are often the talent. And so we kind of like, are you okay with that? Is this what you want to do? Check in with them to make sure that they're, consenting and they're happy to do it. Oftentimes they are. And we think it's a good strategy because if our audience is prospective and current students, it makes sense to have our students be the face.
Paige, can you talk a little bit about that? Anyone that pulls up at KwikTrip today is going to see your face all over that channel. What's that like?
Interesting. I guess it's kind of an interesting way that we went about it because, well, my job is to manage the organic side of all of our social media, and TikTok just kind of is thrown under that, obviously. So how we went about it was, at first we did have an intern at the time who was in a few TikToks here and there, but once he left, I had to, get comfortable being in front of the camera. So it was something like, this is a platform, it's not going away. Someone's got to be the face of it. And at the time, we didn't really realize how important that face would be because we didn't know how successful it would be on the platform. We were kind of still in the testing phase of it, but turns out pretty successful, especially in those first couple months, which is why I want to, say that I don't think it's by any means late to be on TikTok. I think people who are still getting on TikTok right now, they are really early, which means that you're at a complete advantage getting on there right now with your brand if it's something that you're looking into. But in terms of staffing, I guess just making sure that that person is okay filming and being in front of the camera. With me, it's something that I've just kind of learned as I went, and to be okay with comments that aren't always bright and bubbly, and it's not like you can hide behind a meme or anything. Like, people are seeing your face, and they're not funny, or you're not funny, they're going to say it to your face. So just kind of having someone who's okay with that and understands the platform, kind of its trends, and, you know, loves to watch TikTok is really important. So a lot of that research would be key. And in terms of editing and everything like that, I kind of take that into my own hands too. And just, you know, with TikTok, I think it's a little bit different in that everything doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a little bit messy. It can be a little bit informal. And just, I actually use Splice if anyone's curious to what tool I use to edit TikToks. It's just kind of the easiest thing to use on a phone. And just kind of learning as I went, but definitely I know that August mentioned kind of the approval process with that. We've kind of established that trust with our higher ups from an earlier level with our social media content in general, because at times it can be a little bit sarcastic, a little bit witty. So just making sure that they know to trust you, and that if there's anything that we question at all in terms of the sound or something, we just don't use it. So just kind of being hesitant in that way, because obviously there is a face, and, you know, there could be backlash at some point if you don't, you know, use it the right way. So just being mindful of that.
That's great. Ryan, how does Be the Match approach staffing and talent?
Yeah, you know, so right now well, I shouldn't say now, but, you know, in the history of it, our talent is sort of in two specific buckets. The person that I mentioned that we hired into that role was sort of the face of TikTok, like you, Paige, for a solid year. And that was, they were actually someone that right off the bat, like you as well, was not comfortable doing that stuff. But they were willing to take on the challenge, and they figured out a way to make it their own and keep it authentic. And so that was a kind of a professional development thing for them, which was exciting to see that evolve. But the other piece of this is again, that user generated content. So we look at our talent as also our patients, our donors, our stories. And we see, and I say that because when we look at what actually gains traction on TikTok for us, it's both. And we've proven it time and time again. And I think that's something that is also unique to the platform. Like we mentioned just a minute ago, you know, you can, it's not too late to sign up. It's not too late to create an account. And the beautiful thing is you don't have to have any followers in order for the algorithm to pick up something that you put that's got all of the elements of a TikTok that's on trend, that captures your attention within the first second or so, that gets people that want to share it, that want to like it, that want to comment. All of those elements go into you know, a potential viral video on TikTok. And so we've seen that time and time again. We've also seen it happen on other channels that share our stories. And so there's a lot of, you know, we look at talent in a lot of broad ways. And then, you know, I want to touch really quick on the approval process. So just like we've been hearing, the main theme here is, yeah, we do have an approval process as well. So anything that's going to go out, it does go through an internal review, but it's designed to be quick, to the point that August mentioned about on trend. And we do have, the good graces of our legal team as well. So that's important, you know, take them out for a coffee or something, you know, butter them up, because they also, social media has been around for a minute, you know, legal is starting to understand there has to be a little bit of flex there in terms of being actually, you know, beneficial and actually being engaging for people, and not having to follow everything to a T. But we have had one instance, I'll mention this once because nobody's perfect. So we had one instance where we were going to post something and they had to decline it because of the track. So we listened to the track, and there was a couple inappropriate words that, you know, I understood the on trend and I understood the theme of the TikTok, but we had to go with our gut there. And you know, we encouraged, if the person wanted to share it on their own personal channel, that was fine, but not on our brand channel. So there's instances where there's some challenges, but most of the time it's about being authentic and being on trend.
That's great. Yeah, social media governance is not new in 2022, right? So there's an aspect where we would hope at most organizations, you've already had some discussions around that, you know, speed is a factor of quality in social, and that authenticity is key. This is not a place for straight advertising, right? And yet there is some education needed and bringing them along. And it sounds like all three of you have done a really good job of both educating and also seeking that, because brand safety matters. And I know to everyone on the call here, when we talk about risk, it's different. And I remember when the Facebook algorithm started favoring photos over text and link posts. And then it started, like, now we see Instagram. Adam Mosseri has come out and said that Instagram's is a video company. And we're already seeing in our own feeds, video is accelerating in the algorithm. And whether we like it or not, we are algorithmic marketers. So I would love to ask you guys a little bit about the different headspace and how you talk to your leadership about followers versus the algorithm. And I'll just caveat that there's a couple questions already here of just like, how does the algorithm work and what should I do to like, earn attention? And like, that's why we all have jobs, right? Is that we study it and that it will change. But there really is a difference between growing followers versus having a piece of content that will hit an algorithm. And I'd love to kind of know, what's your perspective? How have you communicated to leadership how TikTok is different in 2022? August, could you go first on that?
Well, I think I definitely benefit from an office and a team that trusts me and trust our social media team. And they're basically like, if I tell them this is how it is, they're like, we believe you, we got it. So it's good to be in that environment for sure. But I think like for us, we've shown them some of the videos that have gotten a ton of views. And I think that's like interesting for them to see too. We're like, look, we're reaching this audience. I understand that, yeah, like we're reaching tens of thousands of more people, and that's really great. We also have monthly social media reports that we offer to our staff and our admin to kind of showcase like, how our channels are doing. I think that helps build trust too. Like we're looking at it consistently. We're thinking about the numbers and we're also showing growth, not only like on TikTok, but all of our other channels. So for us, it's been good to have some sort of reporting structure to show them too.
That's good. Paige, how has the algorithm affected your content strategy, how you approach brand safety, educating others?
Yeah, so I think for the most part, a lot of people who aren't on TikTok just kind of aren't going to understand it. And I think that's just something that, if we show a TikTok that might be funny to us, to upper management, they will be like, what is this? I don't understand this. This is stupid. But on the other hand, it might have gotten 300,000 views. Just kind of, like I said, they already kind of trust us. And if it does perform well, they know that that we're doing the right thing and we're kind of understanding our audience and going from there. I think the whole thing with TikTok, and one thing that's really different about it is that they thrive on it being like inside joke. Like they don't want other people kind of infiltrating their platform, kind of like maybe when we were all on Facebook and our parents started getting Facebook. So that's kind of something that we see on TikTok too, where they will actually make up words, which we've seen a lot of trending words and phrases. But for example, like there was the emoji of a chair and it meant laugh. And they didn't do it because it has anything to do with like sitting down in a chair because you're laughing so hard. It was literally to confuse other people on TikTok who didn't get it, and to just consistently confuse people in the comment section, which is pretty interesting. So it's something that you have to be on and, get from a user perspective before you can go out and post as a brand, and just kind of relaying that to other departments as best you can, that it's what the people want and has something to do with the brand at the end of the day is really important.
How many chairs did Be the Match post, Ryan?
we got to work on that. No, but I totally agree with what both August and Paige said. And, I just want to add that, the platform in terms of followers and how that is important to us. To be perfectly blunt, it's not, because the algorithm is so different from the traditional social, and it's actually forcing other channels like Instagram to rethink their algorithm, because it is designed and centered around addiction. So that's true. They want people to stay on the app, which means more eyeballs on it for a longer period of time. And that's kind of a marketer's dream, right? So how do we crack that nut? But that's obviously the question that we're here to try to, collaborate on. But the, for us, again, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter, if you've got 11 million followers on TikTok, your stuff either is going to be seen or it's not going to be seen. It depends on if it's actually stuff that people want to consume on TikTok. It depends on if it's on trend. It depends on if it's using a track that is going viral right now. There's, and I haven't done this for a while, but I still believe there's 5 kind of key elements that if you're checking off all 5 of these things, you essentially are going to get, you're going to get an audience on your video. And so they're all methods of TikTok and the way that you experience it. So it's, are they watching it more than a few seconds? Are they watching it with the loop? Like, are they continuing to watch every time it loops? How many times are they watching it? Are they liking it? Are they commenting in it? Are they sharing it? If they're doing all of those things, that is telling you essentially that they like your stuff. And so if it is not doing those things, it's sort of like the old school view of, we're putting something out there. Is it getting shares? Is it getting a reach? And if it's not getting some of that stuff, then it's not valuable content. Now, again, there's always the exception, right? You could make something that has, you would imagine it would have all 5 of those things, but it's just not happening. That's where consistency comes in. That's where, you have to make sure that you're listening to your audience and responding and all of those factors. So essentially, are you developing a strong relationship with your current and future community? Because that For You page is where people are. They don't go to their followers. They stay on their FYP because they are excited to see what's going to happen next. And that is your stage to get on the FYP. And it can happen if you have a new account, and it can happen if it's your first post. It just has to be something that is engaging on that platform.
So we have about 8 minutes left. I would love, there's a number of questions in here about internal use of TikTok. I would be remiss not to ask, do any of you have experience using TikToks for internal communications? Okay.
Internal communications as our current students, then kind of, but not, I think, in the sense that people are asking questions about.
Nice. Okay. Influencers. So, Paige, you mentioned Charlie. How is KwikTrip think about influencers and kind of brand safety and partnership and all of that?
Yeah, so luckily in terms of outreach, a lot of influencers kind of come to us and say that they're really big fans of KwikTrip and would like to work with us. One thing that we really prioritize with our influencer management program is just to make sure that they're putting out authentic content to them. I mean, we'll give them like high level initiatives and what we're looking for and what's kind of priorities at the moment on KwikTrip's end of things. But at the end of the day, those creators that are on TikTok, they're on TikTok because they probably really love creative freedom, which is what a lot of influencers do like. So we really prioritize that, and that's, what makes their content good. You can find a lot of different influencers on TikTok. For example, we have one guy who chugs beverages really fast. Like that's his TikTok. That's a niche out there, and he has tons of followers. And I can bet a lot of them we aren't reaching with our current strategy. So Charlie is an example of, there's probably some overlap there, Midwest scenarios, pretty funny, KwikTrip, things like that, where Charlie kind of overlaps with our audience. But then again, he has a way bigger audience than us. And just kind of making sure that those TikTok creators are really authentic, and then finding those niches that you kind of aren't serving, but, can somehow, lead to your page and them knowing your brand and just brand awareness in general. So
yeah. August, do you guys do anything with influencers?
So we think about it in terms of, we have people on campus, we have students on campus who have a big TikTok following, and can we ask them to, if they want to create content for us? So that's been really interesting. We work with students a lot, but outside of our interns who want to create content. We also have someone, he's the what are you listening to guy, and he's now an intern for us. So we're like, you have a great TikTok strategy, do you want to join us? I think he does TikTok personally, and I don't know if he's TikTok personally and professionally is a lot of TikTok. It can be overwhelming. So you just kind of have to think about, do they want to do it personally and for a brand? But we like to work with our students if they have a passion for it.
Yeah, I think it's a really good, important point, right? So if you ask a young person what they want to be when they grow up today, right? What do they say? They say they want to be a TikToker, a YouTuber, an influencer. And rather than roll our eyes and be like, where are all the astronauts going to come from? I think we should embrace their sense of creativity and think about how there's a whole new class of content creators, not influencers, creators, big C creators, who are excited about making content and also are probably going to need a job. And so, finding areas to employ creative people, to pay them to do what they're already doing, but then also start to apply some mass communication and marketing acumen against it, is really no different than the early days of Twitter, the early days of Facebook Business Manager, where these are people who are already steeped in social and they understand the trends and it makes them great at their job. So I want to close this by asking each of you a couple of accounts that you would recommend this community following. And I'll just kick this off by saying, if you're not on TikTok today and you just attended a 1-hour session, and during that session, you did not go to www.tiktok.com and download TikTok, which is free, that is your homework, okay? So you're gonna go to the App Store, no matter what kind of phone you have, you're gonna download TikTok. And then my challenge to you is I want you to spend 20 minutes looking at videos, consuming videos tonight. You don't have to do it during work. You should do it during work. It's your job. If you did not find a video that you think is amazing that you want to send to someone in that 20 minutes, I will buy you a coffee. So I'm offering to buy 103 people coffee right now. And what the panel is going to do now is they're going to give you a couple recommended accounts to follow so that you won't be 100% subject to the algorithm. So Paige, can you go first? Who should our audience tune into on the most important social network of our time?
Oh boy, that's a big question. KwikTrip, does that count? Other than that, I'd say for a brand, I kind of like Duolingo. They have a pretty good TikTok, and just searching for other competitors in your scope and following them just to kind of see how they're using the platform. Luckily, we were one of the first convenience stores to get on there, so we kind of, led that line. But other competitors in your scope that you might follow on other social platforms and seeing, how they're using TikTok differently than their other platforms.
Smart. Ryan, who should we follow?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely going to have to ride the KwikTrip train and say our own. So be the match for sure. Come on, it's great. It's inspiring. It's awesome. And then I would, I saw some questions and comments out there about the nonprofit peeps out there, like, how do we sell this? And I'm a big fan of that because we're a nonprofit. So for those people, this is a tried and true thing that we've done over the years. I love finding those channels that you don't expect to see on TikTok. So mine is one of those, and it's a dentist. So who wants to go to TikTok to watch a dentist? Well, you're going to see with the handle The Bentist. So instead of a D, it's a B, The Bentist. He has over 11 million followers. And he's an orthodontist, and he posts TikToks about teeth. And he does it in a way that is obviously engaging for the young communities out there. It's engaging for young adults, all the above. And there you go. You have a dentist that's verified, millions of followers, has been doing it for years. If he can figure it out, I think we can all figure it out. So that's mine.
Perfect. He just can't spell dentist. August.
Yeah, I'll first say it's funny you bring up Duolingo. Obviously, Duolingo is great, and they push like the bounds of what you can do as a business or a brand pretty hard. It's interesting, but there's also this social media manager audience on TikTok that's like, if I hear someone say like, just do what Duolingo does one more time, I'm gonna lose it, right? Because Duolingo is a unicorn in terms of what they've been able to do as a brand. But they do great. And I'm also on a 77-day streak on Duolingo because I saw them on TikTok. So, so it's great. But, you know, brands and that I'd recommend, Washington Post has been doing it for a long time and they still continue to like completely rock it. They have 3 faces of their TikTok that are amazing. I like, they get it in terms of how to make it relatable, but also high quality and also share really good news. So I love Washington Post. And then as far as higher ed, some brand or some institutions I think are doing a good job on TikTok are LSU, University of Arizona, and University of Kansas. They're doing a good job too. So if you're looking for the higher ed sphere, I would recommend them.
Wow. Well, that brings us to exactly on time. So for those of you who did this as your lunch break, we're going to get you back right away. Don't forget that challenge, which is that if you're not on TikTok now, you need to go download it, spend 20 minutes. I'll buy you a coffee if you can't find a video you like. And Eva, I will turn it back to you. Thank you to our panelists.
Yes, thank you to our panelists. I appreciate your time and your interest. I'm one of those people who have been on TikTok since the start of this session, learning and looking and finding and going down rabbit holes. Because, yeah. But thank you very much. If you want to reach out to these individuals, is there a way that they could reach you, or will you share that with everyone else?
Well, you need to go follow their brands on TikTok.
There you go. So thank you very much for joining the Midwest District for this event, and have a great day. Thank you very much.